Hey, morning, everybody. Welcome to Mornings with the Focus. Wilson Tarpe Jr. And look, man, it's real simple. Golden State Warriors last night. Get this out real quick. They closed it out on the road, 103.90. Um, if you guys, some of y'all, I know, want to thank some of you for tuning in earlier, several hours earlier. Cardell and myself were on here wrapping up our NBA Finals recap. That's it. Um, you guys know how it goes here. Open discussion. Hit the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. Um, and we'll go from there. Again, the Warriors closed it out on the road last night, 103-90. I believe that's their third. So three of their four championships were clinched on the road. We got look, it was a hell of a performance. Again, I wish I could say I was shocked about it. I think I had Warriors at 6 started. Felt good about the Warriors all year. The general discourse on them this year been kind of with some nasty work involved. Uh, it's some different times for sure. I date myself a little bit, but typically, like, grew up in there used to be a time where teams that had championship cores, things of that nature. You kind of, not to say that everyone should have picked the Warriors going into this year, but they should have been picked to finish 11th. They should have been taken seriously as a contender. Far too many times they weren't. But again, congrats to them for getting this done. I think I took a peek at some of the discourse this morning, and it's just still talking around the issue, or like, just coming out, just say you were wrong. It's all right. It was a great postseason. It was a good finals. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Uh, Folks kind of counted folks out before it was time. Like, obviously, you got the what was it? You got the 3-1 year where Cleveland came back, hell of a performance from by Brown and company. I don't even care about the particulars in that. Like, what happened? Like, the ending result is they got walked down from 3-1. You got that. They won a chip the year before. Um, One of the best players in the league hits free agency after 2016 season. Everybody in the league, including the team he left, was trying to get that man on their team. Golden State won that pitch. He gets there, and you do what you're supposed to do when you add a player of that quality to a team like this. You're supposed to win. You're supposed to be in the finals. They go back to back. Probably had a realistic chance at a three-peat until devastating injuries, right? Devastating injuries. Um, in that third year, and two of those injuries happened in the finals. Both Clay and Kevin go down. Cool. Kevin decides to leave. All right. Could have left outright as a free agent. Ends up doing a solid. It's a sign and trade, right? The first move post Kevin didn't exactly work. D'Lo, got through the year or whatever. It was fine. Then Golden State's flips him. You get Wiggins in a pick back, right? Second half of that year, Wiggins getting indoctrinated to that Golden State culture. Cool. No big deal. Following year, Clay said to come back, gets hurt again. All right. You deal with that year, right? Got another year. Some kids underneath there. Steph breaks his wrist. He's gone pretty much most of the season, right? So Draymond and the youngsters out there. Again, that culture's still there, but you're missing the big parts of the culture in terms of the guys, the other guys that have been there and done it with Draymond. So that brings us to this year, which is why I thought it should have been something where they should have, at least in my mind, I treated them as a serious contender from the beginning of the year because of the health. It was only a matter, like, you knew Clay was coming back. Just could they get him back? Was he going to be okay? And obviously, he wasn't going to be you're not going to be the best version of yourself the first year you come back from devastating, back-to-back devastating injuries. But it was the fact that the three of them were back together again, right? At that point, Wiggins had just had a full year with the group, which was huge, right? And then you see what they added, the kids. How could you not expect them to compete? And then, like, Steph gets hurt down the stretch. Cool. A team like that, they don't care about the seeding. It's fine. You get into the playoffs, and every round you heard just stuff that never really fully made sense, right? Get to the finals. And we'll leave that there. Then you go to the Eastern Conference side, right? you got Boston knocking out Brooklyn. That was the only sweep of the entire postseason. Folks are having fun with that. I get that. I'm also one of those folks. Things happen. You got to get jokes off. Might have been one of the most competitive sweeps I've seen in my life, where like the difference in terms of like the margin of victory was minuscule. That said, Boston got that done. So you give credit to those youngsters, right? Then they go into the next series. Those next two series, when they had Milwaukee and Miami, mind you, some folks are missing from both of those teams. Some folks were missing from Brooklyn. Folks were missing from, you can play that game on both sides of it, right? For both teams that made these finals run. Which is why I don't play that game. I don't care. It's a part of sports. Like, you have people, you don't, and you do what you can with it, right? And I feel like everybody's adult enough to know when people are missing vital pieces or things that they need, where you're like, oh, I wish they had that. Well, I mean, it's on the roster. It's just not available. All right, cool. Keep that in mind. Just keep that in perspective. That doesn't mean you need to take anything away from Boston and or Golden State as they got to this point, right? And one of the things we saw, like even watching Boston and Golden State go forward on their respective sides of the bracket, if you will, right? Where you saw a team that been here before, handle their business. For Golden State, I'm sure they felt like it could have been a little bit cleaner. Some of those series didn't need to be, there were some games that were dropped that didn't need to be dropped. And credit to those teams for winning those games, right? Then on the Boston side, you had a very talented group that took a huge step this year. They learned how to win, man. And that process is different for everybody. And, we were talking this whole time, every round in the playoffs for Boston, they were able to overcome some of their flaws and still get past, still advance, right? It caught up to them. That's all it was. It caught up to them, man. And, some people throw experience, all that stuff out the window, cliche or what have you, whatever you want to, designate it as, is important. And we saw that in series. I was watching some of the pressures last night. I think Jaylen Brown did it, said it best. And someone's asking him about that whole experience thing, and he didn't fully say yes, but I mean, kind of did when it's, I think the thing I took from it was the young man was saying you saw their immaturity at times, talking about his team, talking about Boston. And that's a great way to put it. And again, it goes to the experience, man, or lack thereof in that case, right? There were multiple times in this series, multiple times in that playoff run where, what was it? The semifinals and the conference finals. Neither of those needed to go 7, but it was a young team not knowing how to win, right? And then you get to this series, and I feel like Boston did have one of the best defenses in the league. It was amazing. But one of the things that was kind of in common was the folks that they went through. They didn't put the type of stress Golden State could put on you because of what they do off ball, right? Brooklyn, you got the two dudes they wanted with the offense they're running, they want to ISO, and that's what they did. And Boston's like, all right, cool, keep everybody in front of us. And it is what it is. Like, what won't happen is you won't beat us. Cool, great. Able to get out that series. Milwaukee missed the hell out of Middleton. That said, essentially, Boston was deep enough to Giannis went off, and you limit the rest. Cool, you get through that. Miami, even if like fully healthy, they didn't even pack the offensive punch that the two prior teams Boston played did, right? So, you got through that series. That series definitely went on longer than it should have. Then in the finals, you're playing another team in the league that has one of the better defenses in the league, right? Which means your margin for error shrinks even more. Then you factor in that even though both of you are turning the ball over, your turnovers aren't equal, right? Sometimes you don't capitalize on those turnovers. You're not winning the battle on the glass. Defensively, like Boston's defense didn't get exposed or anything. That's the beauty of Golden State's system. Like that's what makes them tough. You got two of the best shooters in the world, and both of them they'd still be that. You got Steph, who does it obviously more, being able to put the ball on the floor, what have you. And Klay's the other type, is the catch and shoot type. But at times you have different people on the floor have the ball, and you got two of the best shooters ever running off ball, navigating through screens. That's hell on a defense, man. And Boston had to deal with that. And I think Draymond was saying last night, like, and we saw that too, like Boston's depth, it showed up early in the series, and then they lost that battle, and it hurt them. Like, having to, having to rely on your guys for super long stretches, right? Like the last 3 games. There are times where the only, like, they couldn't even steal like good minutes, like where their big guys would come out the game, just bad things happen. You had a couple times early. I know in like game 1, right? You got good performance from like Pritchard and White, and I think maybe game 4. No, game 3, right? Same thing. Since then, like Boston's their depth, the bench, they didn't really get anything from it. And then you watch Golden State's guys kind of settle in on that side. Saw Poole get his legs underneath them. Saw Payton get his legs underneath them. Loon coming off the bench. And being able to win there was huge. And all that time where, Boston could have taken advantage of some of the situations, because again, they had every opportunity to go up 3-1 in this series, which definitely would have shifted how things would have been, right? That pivotal, what was it, game 4? Got a chance to go up 3-1. Steph goes bonkers, right? But you couldn't capitalize on those opportunities. And he does what a star's supposed to do. He gets his group a game, right? Cool. Game 5, just a Steph clunker. But they couldn't win the Steph clunker game. Wiggins steps up, has a huge game. But Payton stepped up in that game as well, right? You watch the Warriors' depth, the peripheral pieces step up in huge moments. Boston's couldn't. And then what they were able to do defensively to Boston, like that's not the first team all season that Boston won Jason Tatum or anything crazy like that. But they were the best team equipped to do it, and again, going back to what Wiggins meant to this group, huge. That you didn't have to double and go out your way to do too much to slow Tatum down. That kid did a great job of it, right? On the other end, again, the stress where it's put on the defense. We saw that. And we went into the series. I kept saying they're rebounding. Their ability this postseason to rebound the basketball was huge. It helped them in every freaking series. I think, what was it, the closeout game against Memphis? Could be wrong. I got to go back and double check. Really believe it was 70 boards in that game. This team, undersized, 70 boards. Nobody saw that coming, but it happened. And it was kind of harbinger what was to come, because they stayed on the boards. That front court, Horford, and oh my goodness, the incredibly gifted Robert Williams III. They won the battle on the glass some of those games. The offensive rebounding, what was it? Loon and Wiggins were amazing this postseason on the offensive glass. And it hurt last night in the closeout game. Boston comes out, delivers a big punch, as they should. It's a closeout game, it's an elimination game. You the season's over if you don't respond, right? You come out and go to the stage, just took the first punch. No big deal, no panic, nothing. Again, they've been there before. Didn't wilt. What was it, 12-2 run to start the game? Cool, go to the stage just calmly, went about their business. Calmly went about their business. Then it was their turn to respond. They responded with a 21-0 run. A 21-0 run, which is absurd. I don't care if you like them, hate them, can't stand them, what have you. Again, just respect needs to be given. It's 21-0 run. Then I don't have the numbers, and I'm not going to look them up at this moment. That run from that 21-0 run turned into like a 59-19 run or something like that. Like, it was absurd. But then you got to turn around and give Boston credit for how they came out in the third quarter, and it felt like they were letting go of the rope a little bit in the end of the first half. But they grabbed hold of it and started pulling it back across their line a little bit in the third quarter. Al Horford. Most of the third quarter was Al just responding, providing them with buckets when the offense was struggling. Unfortunately for them, they're trading baskets, so it didn't cause too much damage, right? But they did cut like a 20-something point lead down to 12, down to 9 at once. And Golden State continued to respond. And that's what it was. The team that's been there before just continued to respond. As far as like some of the numbers last night, right? Got them on the bottom screen for you guys, but I'm going to read them anyways. Steph, 34, 7, 7, and 2 steals. He also became member of elite club in finals history, right? They averaged 30 points plus a series, average at least 30 a series, and 2 steals for the finals. He did that. Very elite group. Some names in that group you definitely would know. So kudos to him. It's not a shock. I was laughing at the discourse online and on television about, because of the Wiggins game, and kudos to Andrew. Hell of a game. Because of the Wiggins game, that Steph was in danger of losing the finals MVP. Y'all got to stop, man. And again, great job by Wiggins. He has had a clunker in every finals he's played in. And he's also played well in every finals he's played in. This one just, again, this one probably hits a little bit different because he had to, like, they needed every single one of these performances. Wiggins last night, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, 3 blocks. Jordan Poole, 15 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. Clay added 12, and Draymond, you got to peak Draymond game in the closeout game. And that's, again, going back to Boston kind of missing or wasting opportunities, right? Dude was lost for most of the series, trying to find it, right? Trying to find where he could fit in this series and make an impact. And, lo and behold, it happens in the closeout game. 12 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He was everywhere. And it had a huge impact on that game. For the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, 34 points, 7 boards, 3 assists, and 1 steal. Al Horford, 19 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Tatum, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, and a block. Robert Williams III, 10, 7, 2, and 5 freaking blocks. I want to count 6 because I definitely didn't agree with the call. I think it was Jordan Poole where he chased down Jordan Poole and they ended up calling a foul really late. But Robert Williams was incredible this series, which is why if you're Boston, you got to feel good, man. Your main pieces are still young. Robert Williams is only – if he's just playing with the use of both of his legs, because he was on one leg for this finals, how much better do they get on both ends, right? Hell of a year for them. I'm interested to see how they take this, let it fuel them, and how they come back and improve. That said, the East they're coming back to, it's going to change a little bit. Some teams are going to get some people back. Moves are going to be made. Like the offseason's here, man. We got the draft just literally, I think it's next week. So we're going to see how teams react to Golden State winning another chip. And that's usually the fun time when you see how teams react to when a team wins a championship. When Milwaukee won, the team's like, all right, it's cool. It's time to load up on bigs, right? And that's the fun part about it all. But kudos to the Warriors. Very, very, it's well-deserved. And again, I'm not shocked in the least bit. Had them in 6. And I think people need to be aware because I've seen some of it already, right? And it's kind of nasty. And I feel like if people didn't just, sometimes just think for themselves and sometimes get too ahead of themselves with crowning folks, then you wouldn't be as mad. Like Jason Tatum had a tough finals. I mean, you could attribute a lot of that to the Golden State defense. Doesn't mean that Jason Tatum is bad. Doesn't mean that Jason Tatum won't end up being a top 5 player in this league at some point. Just currently, he is not, and there's nothing wrong with that. What is the kid, like 24? Cool, he's not a top 5 player in the league. Oh my gosh. Maybe he's not a top 10 player in the league, right? So what? He's one of the best young players in the league. Gonna be fine. And if anything, again, credit the Golden State defense. Credit Andrew Wiggins for the type of defender that he's proven to be. Clearly when in a better situation where other people also defend as well. And that's that. Doesn't mean that Jason Tatum's not just as talented as he was when some of y'all were saying he's better than, well-established stars and stuff. And that's the thing, man. Just let people get to where they need to be. And I hope people, take that lesson. Like, there was literally a contingent of folks like Andrew Wiggins was a bust. Bro, if you come out of college, you're a number 1 pick, and at worst, you're still averaging 19 points per game for your career, I probably don't think you're a bust. again, 19 for your career. Know what bust looks like. That's not one of those. Didn't get to hear and be like, oh, he reinvigorated. Nah, it was just he went from like the upside down to the regular world in terms of the type of organizations he was at. Like you can make a laundry list of very good players Minnesota has had at times, and they've done little to nothing with them. There's times when they've had like little groups of players, like good cores, and wasted. So like maybe, just maybe, look at organizations and where folks land before writing players off. Like just think it's something to keep in mind going forward. But again, it was a great postseason. It was a fun NBA year, and it's gonna feel like it's coming right back around so quick. Again, drafts next week, so we'll be talking about draft next week. Look forward to talking about the draft with you all. As we get closer to the draft, as we get closer to summer league, as we get closer to NFL training camps. Be quiet for a little bit on in terms of the NBA actual season ending, but could be worse. What's going on, Troy? All things considered, good year for Boston. Could have used that floor general to push them over the top. Only going 7 deep is rough too. Warriors had their strength in numbers. Yeah, even with the floor general thing, right? I'm not super mad at them for how they went about it. They just have to be smarter with the ball. Like I think they like again, they had opportunities in this series as currently constructed to go up 3-1. And then like let's say if you did get a floor general, then the defense takes a hit. Is it really worth it? Like I think 2 things they just have to do. Stop whining, stop flopping. You're so damn good. You don't have just hoop. Just hoop. I think I tweeted it last night, like literally, just hoop. You are a very good team. Just hoop. Stop trying to bait fouls, trick the refs. Just hoop. And they wasted energy on so many things that didn't matter. In this playoff run, in the finals, in the finals, whatever your flaws are, they get magnified, right? Cool. And that's exactly what happened. And yet with the Warriors and Cardone, I was talking about it last night, and we've been talking about it. We can go back to last what was it, like 2 years ago in the draft when they took James or whatever. They got this done. This is all they get going forward is they get another year wiser with their core and obviously get a little older, but all those youngsters just got to see this. They all get to take a step forward and now to become a bigger part of it. So you talk about that strength of numbers, right? That depth, it's only going to improve. Like this might, like right now, this is probably the least athletic they'll be just because all those kids will be in a rotation. We saw what Robert Williams did for Boston, just being a freak athlete, holding things down in the paint for them, right? Golden State got a whole footer over there. A whole footer over there. What does that do for them? Think about what that does. Think about what that does for them. You get a whole 7-footer in there, and unlike some of the previous 7-footers, like they didn't get the Milwaukee version of Andrew Bogut when they had Bogut, right? Like they got Bogut after a bunch of injuries. A veteran, a wily vet at that time, and it was pretty much off. He was contributing off his supremely high basketball IQ, right? They haven't had opportunity there. It's currently constructed to have a 5 this, that might be able where you might be able to factor into the offense where it's on purpose. I'm not saying next year you'll be able to throw the ball to him on the block. I'm not talking about next year, but like there are things where you can pick and pop, right? Obviously give you the vertical space and as rolling to the rim. He can shoot. Like there's a different dimension that may be added. The adding another, we saw what the athleticism of Wiggins did for him, right? There'll be time next year, where's Wiggins and Kuminga on the floor together? Like the athleticism is only going to improve. I wouldn't be shocked with whatever they do with the 28th pick. The person at the very least is another athlete, a plus athlete. So like, you're talking about the depth, strength, and numbers. It's only going to get deeper, man. So we'll see how that looks. But Boston's depth definitely hurt them. Definitely hurt them. With you on a flop, and you don't get the right coach to get them to stop. And you get a PG, but I would hate to lose those Robert Williams, man, salute to him, on one knee for sure. Robert Williams was incredible. All that this series proved, just reminded, at least to me, is whatever Horford decides to do, whether he comes back for another year, what have you. But they got somebody who's going to be in the DPOY conversations, and as a young big, like they for sure do. He was, he won Defensive Player of the Year in his conference twice in college. I feel like I don't bet, don't gamble at all. Feel safe. Like Robert Williams is going to have his name in the running routinely. Just as long as he stays healthy, he's going to routinely be in the running. Dude's amazing. And then I enjoy what he does offensively. There's still parts, Carter, I was talking about the Cup, I want to say 2 finals recaps ago, so like after game 5. So about some of the things he can do offensively that he hasn't yet been able to show because they haven't needed it, right? Because you have Al to do some of those things. So Rob has the ability to step out, hit the mid-range jumper. And that's what I'm talking about, just having that type of talented youth and the development, those players are going to take step forwards. And that's the scary part on both sides, right? However you might feel about Jason, I'm going to talk about you, Troy, but Jason and JB are going to get better. Marcus is going to get better. They just have to take care of the ball as a whole. And literally the IQ, and it's not – none of them are dumb players. Just in that moment, just a whole lot of short-circuiting at times. Where Golden State was, they might do some dumb stuff. And that's why I've said it's crazy because they might have like the same amount of turnovers in the game. And it doesn't feel the same because it feels like Golden State, you turn the ball over Golden State, you almost, they're making you pay for it. Boston sometimes they'll get a turnover, they'll get stops, and they give it right back to you on consecutive possessions. And it's like, what do we do here? And they end up where they're trailing after a sequence in which they got 3 stops. How did you end up losing that sequence? It's because of bad decisions. There were multiple times last night. Al got a step on him or something in the post, and they couldn't find the right way to get the ball into the post. Or for that matter, sometimes they got the ball into the post. Obviously, the help defense is coming, and Al's looking to make a play. Again, just that experience. But even Al, yes, he's a veteran, been in the league forever. This is his first time in the finals. And I can't wait to see how this experience propels them forward next year. Because they've been here now, right? We're gonna want to get back. There's nothing else until you get back and right the wrong. And on the other side, there's a first year back from Clay from them 2 devastating injuries. He should be more Clay-like next year. And we saw him kind of get a little bit. Felt like his legs got underneath him defensively a little bit in the last 2 games of the series, but then kind of like obviously the shot selection or missed shots last night. I don't think that's going to be the best version of him post injury either. Like he was just getting back, man. But again, it was a great finals. It was a fun NBA season. Just urge everybody going into next year, even with all the off-season movement that's going to happen. Again, like I think folks did it this year. Coming in this year was like, oh yeah, Milwaukee won a chip. Who cares? Look at all these new teams that can do it, bro. Like. Whoever won a championship is give them the one thing they should have, at least I know in my mind. Whoever wins it, like you're the reigning champs until you're gone, man. I feel like that's not too much to ask, right? Troy, I know you're in here. If you got anything else, just let me know. I'll give you a couple of seconds to respond. Anybody else hit the comment section like Troy did. Otherwise, we'll come to a close and let y'all get on to your day. But again, thank y'all for tuning into, the final recaps and everything like that. WNBA season keep continuing on. See some of you guys Sunday for Mystics Outlook. Getting closer to All-Star break on the W side of things, and then we'll probably get NFL wrap up back up and going soon. Just like having shows just to speculate closer to once training camps get going and there's stuff to talk about. For sure, we'll get that going. And I appreciate you, Troy. Everybody else is tuned in. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day, man. And again, it's not that hard. Give Golden State credit. They won it. Like, it's really not that hard. Don't be like some of these folks on television that are they're doing a whole lot of gymnastics just to, yeah, my bad, before I leave. Brian Windhorst with the checkbook comment. How can you try to shame an owner for doing what every sports fan, whatever team that they own, would love their owner to be like Lacob. Oh, here, what do we need? Spend it, blank check. Here, GM, here, Bob Myers, do what you need to do. But Joe, the price doesn't matter. I want a winner. Okay, look, man, that's typically what you want, right? Don't shame you. It sounds hollow shaming folks for that. What's another one of the nasty things is being said, like, oh, Steph needed this one to cement his legacy. Bro, dude's been great. Stop it. This era has been shared for quite a while. However, we look back on this, right? You're looking back at dynasties in the league, or just talk about league history. You flow right from the Spurs into this era. And if you want to call it the Bron era, that's cool, but you're going to have to put a little dash next to it and throw Golden State next to it. Because it wasn't owned by one person. It was at the very least shared. So again, man, like, and I feel like folks did this with the Spurs. And I know, this championships were all close together, but bro, to be that damn good for that long. And we've heard the Warriors say this for, over and over again, and that's their goals to be like that. But again, they did 4 and 8, and in the times they didn't get it done, look what it took for them not to be in the picture. Catastrophic injuries to 2 players. Maybe 3. You count Steph with the wrist. Global pandemic. And again, like, I'm not gonna the 73 1 season. That's all Cleveland, man. You give them credit. I don't care about the suspension. I don't care about none of that. That's Cleveland. You give them boys credit. It's just not that hard. I feel like it's not that hard. But again, appreciate you all. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you guys soon.